The Central Bank of Nigeria has technically devalued the Naira exchange rate on the investors and exporters window from 366.70 Naira to 380.20 to $1. Well, now joining us this morning to discuss the reasons behind this action is Arise News business analyst Rotus ODIRI, our very own. Good morning. Good to see you.
Morning. How are you guys doing?
Very well, very well. How are you doing too?
Doing pretty well, thank you so much.
Okay, just take a deep breath.
Okay.
And because when it comes to talking about economy, money, and all of that, one gets to be tensed up a little, especially in these times.
Yes.
Now, did this come as a surprise to you? Because many watchers actually say that this devaluation, technical devaluation of the Naira, really did not come as a surprise.
No, it didn't. And I believe we're going to hear from I've got a clip that we're going to play from the central bank governor, where he was asked about this particular devaluation. He gave it an answer with regards to how it was supposed to work. So it wasn't a surprise, because we've seen pressure on the Naira over the past few months. If you look at going back to July of 2019, the central bank's reserves have gone from about 45 billion Naira to under 36, because they've been using those reserves to defend the currency.
To shore up the Naira.
Exactly. And now, with what's been happening between Saudi Arabia and Russia, the oil price war that's been going on, that's also caused oil prices to fall and put more pressure on them. So we're going to
let's play
that link right now.
Exactly.
I repeat, it's an adjustment in currency, and of course, we have often been accused that we have a hand. We don't have a hand. What happens is that we allow the I&E window, which is a dominant market, to dictate the exchange rate in the market. So what we've done is that in the I&E window, there are buyers and sellers of foreign exchange. There are people that need FX. There are people who want to provide FX in the market. So what has happened is that at this time, central bank says, I'm providing FX in that market at 380. If you have dollar and you want to provide yours at higher than 380, go ahead, but provide it in the market so as for us to use it to fund our domestic obligations. What does that also mean? If you recall, in 2016, 2017, there was a time the exchange rate rose to as high as 420. People were speculating to go higher. But up till recently, up till last week, the exchange rate was about 360. So what are we saying again? I&E window is the market where I provide FX, you provide FX. You determine the price based on what you have available. So I'm saying today, I provide FX at 380. If you have, provide yours. If I think mine can come at a lower price, I provide at a lower price. So that is what is happening. It is an adjustment, but in economics, in foreign exchange management language, it is not a devaluation.
Well,
right. Right. So, yes, that's our central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele there, reacting to a question, saying that it's not a devaluation, it's a price adjustment. So, essentially, look, in foreign exchange is the price of one currency in terms of another, right? So, essentially, I mean, it's little, it's some choreography language, some a little nice language there, but it's a devaluation. I mean, because the price has gone on the. So let's explain this for our viewers. He was talking about the I&E window. The I&E window was set up in April of 2017 as a free markets area for businesses, the central bank, and investors and exporters. That's what I&E stands for: investors and exporters, to be able to determine the price of the dollar, right? So it was set up as a marketplace where everybody can trade, and the dollar is allowed, the free market price is allowed to be determined. The CBN, though, does play in that window in buying and selling in order to kind of regulate it a bit. So the key here is what the central bank governor was talking about. It's moved from 366 to 380. They also sent out a circular on the 20th to banks saying that, listen, International Money Transfer Service, or NTSOs, are going to be sending, it's a weekly disbursement that happens in foreign exchange where money comes in to banks. So they sent out a circular. That was what tipped people off. That the circular said that, listen, the funds that are going to be, the dollars that are going to be coming in, the banks are going to get it at 376. They're going to sell to the CBN at 377. The CBN is going to sell to BDC's Bureau de Change at 378, and the Bureau de Change is going to send to you and I and our viewers at 380. So that was essentially the clue that gave people that said, okay, look, this is actually moving. Now, the official rates has been 307. If you go to the central bank's website, centbank.org, you will see the macroeconomic indices on their website. Inflation, the official exchange rate, and the price cost of crude oil. So it's on there now. It's officially been changed from they devalued by about 15% from 307 to 360. So what is happening is that the central bank is essentially trying to unify the exchange rates, because you've got the official exchange rate at which they sell oil proceeds, crude oil, get dollars in, and then they distribute to the, in terms of fact, the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee. They distribute that to the federal government, the states, and the local governments. You sell crude oil, you get dollars, you convert to naira, distribute it to the three tiers of government in order to do what they want to do. So that's the official exchange rate. Then you've got the I&E window that the central bank governor was just talking about now. That I&E window, as I've just said, with the circular they sent out, that's gone from 366 to 380. So, you know, it's a unification process that is taking place right now. But essentially, for our viewers to know, however you want to call it, it is a devaluation because the price of dollars in terms of naira has moved. What are the benefits? As I just mentioned, the FAC allocation is probably the biggest benefit because the states need money in order to pay salaries, in order to pay pensions, in order to pay, you know, obligations to workers. We know that the minimum wage was increased to 30,000. Yes. Right? Now that's an increase from 15. So you know they've had wage concerns. Some states are owing money. So you are selling crude oil in dollars, right? You've devalued. You will get more naira for your dollars that you're selling. The main benefit now is that in terms of the amount of money that comes into the coffers of the federal government, you know, this is going to be increased for the federal government, the states, and the local governments to be able to attend to their needs. I mean, you know, that's the main benefit. Okay. That's the main benefit. Now, on the other hand, things are going to cost higher for all of us, right? That's the other side of this. Example, I saw a pair of shoes online.
I saw this.
Right. You saw that on my, I think I tweeted it or so. They were about $160. They were selling for, I think it was about 58,720 naira. So if you divide the 15,000 naira by the $160, it came out to about 364. This is just the rates that you're just dividing that they're using online. With the devaluation going from 364 to 380, those shoes end up costing over 60,000. So it's a lot more. So you're looking at cost push inflation where inflationary pressure is added because prices of goods that are determined in dollars and services are going up.
You know what I just penned down on my paper now? Inflation, value, and inflation.
There you
inflation
go.
Right now, again, if you go to the central bank's website and you look at the macroeconomic indices, they just updated the inflation figures for February. They are 12.2 right now. So you have to think of that side of the equation. But if, again, why this had to happen. Yes. The central bank was facing pressures because, as I mentioned before, we listened to the governor speaking there. Saudi Arabia and Russia had the oil price war, which was precipitated by the coronavirus. Yeah, the coronavirus has affected China, which is one of the biggest consumers of oil. It reduced demand, and we already have an oversupply of oil now, as far as oil supply is concerned. So the OPEC decided to come together and say, hey, look. Let us cut the amount of barrels of oil. Let's cut supply in order to support prices. Initially, they wanted to cut. This was pushed majorly by Saudi Arabia. Yeah. OPEC plus, that's OPEC plus extra suppliers like Russia, who is not a member of OPEC. They came and said, look, coronavirus has affected the demand of oil. Prices are coming down. Let us cut the amount. Let us cut the barrels. It was initially 600,000 barrels per day. That was what was initially announced or offered. Saudi Arabia, Russia said no. Then they had another meeting in Vienna, and that was where everything fell apart. They wanted to, OPEC initially said, and we covered this on the Rise News Global Business Report, all our channels continuously. OPEC said they suggested 1.5 million barrels a day. They would cut that amount. or Russia refused. And that was where Saudi Arabia said, okay, you know what? Well, we're just going to flood the market with oil and we're going to fight for market share. Russia said, okay, go ahead and do that. And that's where you saw the massive price in crude oil fall. Now, for Nigeria, initially, our benchmark crude oil price was $57 a barrel. Now you've got crude oil falling to $30 below 30. Right, so that's where all this pressure came from. And so we're looking at the macroeconomic indices there from the central bank. So you can see 12.2% for February year-on-year inflation. Exchange rate, you can see they've moved it now. It's official from 307 to 360. Then we've got the monetary policy rate, the MPR, which is the benchmark interest rate, and then crude oil price. You can see even on as of March 18 on the central bank's website there, $27.50. So you're selling something for $57, it drops to 30. This is going to affect your capital expenditure. It's going to affect a number of your expenses. There's the tweets sent out from the central bank where your Governor Godwin Emefiele was clarifying, saying it's an adjustment in price and not quite a devaluation, but we can call it by another name, but that's essentially what it is.
Half a dozen and 6.
And that's the letter that was sent out to the circular, telling the different the banks that look at IMS, TSOs, that's the International Money Transfer Service Operators, are going to sell at different prices: 376 to 1, banks to CBN 377, CBN to BDCs 378, and BDCs to end users, that's us, 380.
So how legally binding is that circular? Because we're both wildly aware.
Legally binding.
Well, how binding?
That's from the CBN.
Because I asked that.
Okay, go ahead.
I asked that because I've struggled to find the rate prescribed by the CBN at BDCs. So I'm wondering.
Well, you see, this is the first circular that has come out since the oil prices fell and pressure was building. Remember, the CBN had this CBN Growth 2.0 consultative forum in Abuja a couple weeks ago, and that's why they said there was going to be a response to this. So we're waiting for that response. They duly delivered, gave the response, and so that's what we're saying. But now BDCs have to follow it.
Exactly.